right, happy Monday, everyone. You're listening to Daddy Issues. I'm Dean McDermott. I'm a daddy of 6. With me, as always, my BFF, Adam Hunter. He is a new daddy, and Nicky Paris, who still needs his daddy.
I'm not your BFF.
I knew it. See, I knew he was going to say
fuck?
it.
What am I, last week's liver?
You are my BFF.
Last week's liver?
I didn't hear it. It doesn't mean it unless you say it, Dean.
No, I don't have to say it to mean it.
You're his BF.
Can we be a little professional? We have, like, a great guest
I know.
here.
We have a celebrity guest today.
Yes.
Big guest.
I know.
Our guest is amazing.
He's amazing.
He's amazing. I introduced my kids to that, and they can't stop saying it.
Really?
Dad, dinner was amazing. You're still amazing.
Oh, no.
Will you please put your hands together, and I hope I say it right,
I'm going to kill you if you don't.
Danny Franzese.
Yeah!
I got it.
Wow.
I've been so nervous all week.
You're a pro, man.
And it's really weird. Welcome, Danny. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
I wore my
It's
shirt.
amazing.
I wore this shirt for you, especially.
Yes, Daddy Bear shirt. I'm into it.
So, Danny, most people know you from Mean Girls.
Sure.
And you have the funniest line in the history of any movie about the girl not going to your school.
Oh, she doesn't even go here.
That was the funniest. They don't understand. Like, I coach a middle school wrestling team, and one kid just like showed up to a match one day, and I was like, "He doesn't go to our school," and I just hacked your line. I was like, that was such a great line.
Honestly, like, I really feel like that had to ruin like hundreds of assemblies.
That's true.
And,
You know
like, guest speakers in high
what I'm
schools
talking
across
about?
the land.
Like when the girl made up that big speech, and like
They told all the junior girls to go to the auditorium, and because I'm the gay kid, I go, but I wear like a hoodie and disguise myself. And some girl gets up and she's talking and she's crying, and I'm like, she doesn't even go here. And Tina Fey's like, do you even go to the school? She's like, no, I just have a lot of feelings. She's like, go home.
that was the funniest. That was so funny. That Mean Girls holds up.
And it's 15 years later. You just celebrated the 15th anniversary.
15 years?
It's funny. I just had to like. There was like that's like one of the most iconic lines from the movie, and I had to like explain it to the dads. Like that's like how many people have had to explain that to dads?
I can't believe you haven't seen Mean Girls.
I've seen it. Listen, I've seen it.
Oh.
And honestly, I don't remember what I did yesterday. I can't even pronounce this man's name properly. Like I forget stuff.
Lindsay Lohan. It was like her breakout.
I remember.
It was Lindsay Lohan before she owned property in Mykonos.
I can't remember. What a train wreck that show is. Oh, my goodness. I can't remember anything from movies from Lines anymore. I can't.
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you what I did yesterday.
That was a really funny like movie like that. I think it was targeted to girls, but that guys could see. Yeah, guys could enjoy too.
The PR was. I was really disappointed by the PR at first because I didn't understand. It was like pink and all that. I'm like, what are they doing? Because to me it was just like a regular comedy. But yeah.
And
that was it.
One thing that's so important about the film is I feel like your character is the only character that holds like a cultural significance because it was the first like time we saw a gay like best friend in mainstream media. So I know that your role has touched so many people. How does that what does that mean to you?
Yeah, there'd been a few gay best friends before and like other stuff, but it wasn't like this. This was like a time where he was just like able to be normal and like people didn't pick on him. And he wasn't like some gay best friends in movies were like, I'm going to go over to the gay best friend's house and it's the only time we see him. We don't talk in the halls kind of thing. You know, this guy was just like a part of the group. And I think that had sort of like a cultural significance for a lot of people, a lot of queer people of size, like, you know, just to see themselves or see something like them represented.
Do you also think, though, that, you know, it was 15 years ago, do you think that the straight community embraced it a little more as well? It wasn't so taboo.
You know, I have this invisible like girl in my head who's like 16 years old, 17 years old, like lives in Texas. Her parents are like extremely conservative. She has a gay best friend in school. She's conflicted about it, but she could be like, hey mom, it's like a Damian, like, you know, and then they're like, oh, like let's have him at the barbecue. Right. Like it opened like doors for like kids like that to sort of be in a safe space in other places because it was something where you could it was a place where it was a reference point. You can like say, oh, I know a Damian. Yeah. It was like Jack and Will and Grace did that for a lot of people. They'd be like, he's like a Jack, like, you know, and then people would be like, oh, and they could like tolerate it a little more or understand it.
You were way funnier than those guys in that movie. Now, did you reference that you were I haven't seen the movie in years, but was there parts where you're like, oh, that guy's cute or something? Was there any?
No, the thing about it was there was one time where like I was like talking about Ashton Kutcher and she didn't know who he was, and I was like, I gasped. I think that was the closest I got to like that. But to me, it was like we talked about it a lot, Tina Fey, myself, and the director Mark Waters, about how Damian was in that sweet spot, like right before your first kiss, where like he knew he was gay, but he was like, this is something I'm going to deal with in like 2 years when I get out of high school. I'm not going to like have to deal with it right now. Like, it wasn't, he was just sort of just like figuring things out.
Because I coached middle school, and there was a kid who like I thought was gay, but I'm like, I'm not gonna ask him like, hey, I'm not just, but like he was very. Like he'd come in singing show tunes. Like one time he was like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "Are you okay?" I coach wrestling. He's like, "An ant," and I'm like, "All right, dude." Like,
And that's when he chose to come out.
but you're right. Like I'm like, but I'm not. I would never, as a coach and as a teacher, I'm not gonna ever even bring that up. But
Here's a good test. I think with the younger kids, you could just be like, "Oh my God, Selena Gomez just got hit by a truck," and see how they read the reaction.
See who cries.
I think whoever's crying, gay.
Really, is that what you
Yeah,
do?
yeah. To the younger kids, yeah. For my generation, you told me Britney Spears or Dolly Parton got hit by a moving vehicle. I'm fucking out of there.
But did you know, like at 13, did you know you liked men or like?
I knew when I saw George of the Jungle. Truthfully, when I saw that movie, I said, I have to.
One with.
I think
Brendan
that's when I got my
Fraser.
first boner. Yeah,
First boner was to George of the Jungle.
That's
George
the
of the
first time I
Jungle.
got a boner for a man was.
George of the Jungle.
Brendan Fraser.
When did you get your 19?
I had a few boners reserved for Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
I think that was his first boner too in that movie.
He's a handsome Canadian guy, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like
Good
George
Canadian
Boner.
he actually quit acting. He's trying to make a comeback
That's
now.
for the better.
Because they were making him audition again. Like he just like left Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, I read that big article. He had,
Yeah.
like, a big expose. It was like 10 pages about aging out in Hollywood and like like all that other stuff. Like, ugh.
He's
Yeah.
a pretty good actor.
He was
Yeah,
great.
he is a good actor.
He was great. My friend saw him on an airplane. Said he was exactly like that character. He kept fondling with everything, and like he wasn't like
He was
acting.
just being George.
And he was in a loincloth.
George being
Yeah.
George.
He's just
Sir,
George being George.
Put your shirt on, please.
So was it hard? Now after Mean Girls became this like huge thing, did you get typecast a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I call it like the gay glass ceiling. Like it was just like I wasn't out because people would be like,
Which is perfectly Windex, by the way.
Not a spot on her. Not on my watch. No, it was like I had auditioned for all these different roles, like Turtle and Entourage, and like all these other things. Like
Oh, you'd be
I was
great,
close.
Turtle.
I
Oh,
was
you'd be a
close
good
to getting
Turtle,
Turtle, and all these other like parts that I got like really close to. And then after that, that was it. It was like gay role or nothing. Like they just wouldn't even let me audition for shit, and it was like very weird, and I was like really frustrated.
You
Yeah.
don't come across as, and like on the movie, but now in person, I wouldn't think that you don't scream gay.
That doesn't see, but now that's what we're learning. It doesn't mean anything anymore. There's like a total fluidity in like what somebody is like, and how they behave. Like what is acting gay? Like I guess what you're saying, like the stereotypical.
Right.
But what you're pointing
I'll
out
show you my
are
reel.
things. What you're pointing out are things that media taught you were gay.
True.
It's like we're really suffering from toxic masculinity in our country, especially like stuff like men in Europe for years have been like kissing on the lips or like dancing together and it not being like a big thing or holding hands and like it not being gay. It's just that our culture,
Yeah.
that's like super, not the thing to do.
European dudes also wear Speedos. Where does the Speedo fit in the game?
Look, I want to get Speedo. I want everyone to start wearing Speedos again.
No, you don't.
Can we get them to those little 70s like Umbro shorts too? I'm all about it. Please,
Unless
straight
you're
guys, like
competing in
that's.
an Olympic sport, you should not be wearing Speedos.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Everyone, I disagree. Everyone should wear a Speedo.
No, I'm just, but you know what I'm saying. I hear your point, right? But and you're right. There's not really a gay type. Some people are gay and some people are like have deep voices. But I'm saying that like, if somebody was like, we've all met that person that walks around. It's like not you, like everything is very flamboyant, right?
This is good to talk about. We're on a show called Daddy Issues, right?
Right.
Parenting, right?
Yeah.
So like my mom was saying that my niece is being raised sort of like gender neutral. That's also what the royal family has said that they're doing with their children, and it's kind of like what that just means is like my niece is allowed to play with whatever she wants to play with. She can wear pants if she wants to wear pants. She's a girl, but she's not a girly girl. She plays sports.
Yeah.
She's doing but like she's allowed to just be free.
I want my daughter to be the same way.
Yeah, free to explore whatever you want. That was not the situation before. Like up until like 2 years ago, all the toy aisles were either pink or blue. Like everything was just like we were marketed a certain way.
Right. I'm just
We're
saying.
structured
I'm
a
just
certain
saying
way.
for you as an actor, I can like if Richard Simmons, right?
Sure.
Who's a great actor.
If Richard Simmons came out as
Oscar.
if Richard Simmons came out and played the kid in Mean Girls, right? And then afterwards, you'd be like, okay, every part he seems to not being able to. He seems to be playing Richard Simmons, and I would say, these people might have a point, but with you, it just knowing you, it just I think
Well,
that's
also you
complete
know
bullshit.
me,
I'm
so
sitting up for you.
like I'm sitting here. You met me.
Yeah.
These people haven't even met me. They've only seen my movie, and they get a phone call, and then they won't let me in the room.
That's
bull-
Hollywood.
that's
though.
bullshit.
So
That's
that is
Hollywood.
bullshit.
I just
It's
it-
discrimination.
Absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
But I've also heard, who was it? Bryan Cranston. For years, Bryan Cranston wanted to do serious acting, and they only saw him as Malcolm in the Middle. It's like, you can only do comedy. So he finally gets Breaking
Right.
Bad, blows Breaking Bad up. Now he wants to get back into comedy, and they're like, no, you're the Breaking Bad guy. You're like,
Oh
so,
no, it's
so
a what?
There's that,
yeah.
but then there's also, you add a sexuality on top of that. It becomes a whole other thing.
This is a what have you done for me lately town, and the thing that's interesting about that is also like the people are it has to do with them. Like you're threatening the casting director's masculinity if you can come in and read for, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
like
right.
it's internal stuff that we're all dealing with. It's really ridiculous. But
But I am gonna raise my daughter. Like I don't know if I'm gonna say I'm raising her gender neutral. I'm just
that's just my just point is like you're not like this. No, you get the pink one. It's like my niece never picks the pink one. Like I have two nieces. Well, I have a couple, but the two that are always
Gender open
together.
be a better name than gender neutral.
Yeah, I
Gender
mean
open,
whatever.
'cause it's like,
Just
like,
a neutrality,
Raise her to
fluid
be
or
a
whatever.
little-
It's
raise
like
her to be a little badass.
basically I always I know when I go pick something out that if my niece Kylie, if I'm gonna get her something, she's a very girly girl stereotypically. She like you give her like a baby doll, she's like holding it, she's like feeding it, she's giving it a bottle, she's got it swaddled in the blanket. My niece Catalina, you give her a doll, she's dragging it by the foot. It's like, you know, she's just not like that kind of a, you know. And whenever she goes, guess which one I want, and I'm like, which one? She's like, I want the green one. And like she'll take the different color, then take the pink. I already have too much pink and purple shit. She's like, she wants different. She wants it, you know, like, so I think that's interesting.
It's funny that you said that about the toy because I actually have a memory of my childhood which I forgot about until you started talking about the toys. I wanted from a Happy Meal toy the My Little Pony doll, and I finally bullied my mom into letting me get a My Little Pony doll, and she's like, "Your father's not gonna like this," and I slept with it besides my bed, and I woke up the next morning they threw it out.
Oh, wow,
Oh.
see?
Isn't that? I forgot about that. I have to leave.
and then you want
have a good rest of the show, everybody.
then
I
you
need a bottle of wine and a good cry.
I need a moment in the Comedy Store bathroom.
then you wanted a Rainbow Bright. Made it even worse.
Yeah.
Right. My son Jack, when he was about 4, he was into the Powerpuff Girls, and he had everything Powerpuff Girl. I mean, I even learned how to draw the Powerpuff Girls. So we would sit for hours and we'd draw Powerpuff Girls, and then as he got older, he would make movies with Polly Pockets.
Okay, so see, I'm, like, this is something where like your son's curiosity about like a really cool TV show led him to like make little movies and things like. He could end up becoming an animator of a show like that. So that's where you like foster a child's creativity. Whereas like, yeah, dad, you know, other dads not as cool as you might be like, you can't watch that shit. It's for girls.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what we're talking about here. Like, that's the stuff that like just rears its ugly head in our culture that ends up adjusting the way that kids think about what they do, and they get insecure. Like, oh, I can't try that. You know, I mean, not that I mean, it's kind of funny, but like I begged when I was in like first grade to do tap dancing. I just wanted to do, I wanted to do it so bad, and my parents were like, no. Like, and I know that they were literally like, meh. Like, first of all, they probably couldn't afford it. They were like 21, but like at the same time, they also probably were like, that's not for like boys. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, although my mom. All boys in Brooklyn where I grew up, they all had black skates, like outside to go skating or whatever, and girls had white skates. And my mom let me have white Care Bear skates. And people were like, "Why did you let him do that?" And she was like, "That's the one he wanted. Leave him alone." You know, like just like, you know,
It's so funny. It's so frustrating as a parent because and as an individual, but you look at all this stuff and it's so mind-numbingly ridiculous. You know, it's just, when are we going to stop sweating the small shit? Like, if your kid wants white unicorn skates, let them have a, like, when are we going to stop?
No,
with
I know
this
it works
shit?
to both ways. Like there was a girl that came out for the wrestling team, this like black girl that she was like awesome athlete. I think her father was a pro athlete or something. And I'm like, right away, I'm like, this is gonna be great. And then the dad was like, no, you're not wrestling. And like she came and watch every day, and I'm just like, oh.
She would come and watch, and he wouldn't let her wrestle.
Yeah,
That's so sad.
He didn't want the boys throwing her around or whatever. I don't know what his deal was, but it was
he
like
robbed that little girl of a possible great opportunity.
Of course,
she
yeah.
She could have gone to the UFC. Who knows? But
yeah.
By putting these boundaries on things, you're stopping kids' creativity, like you mentioned. You're stopping kids from growing and exploring something they might not have otherwise had an interest in.
Oh.
What was lucky for me is I had a little sister, and it was like So my mom
Diana,
would be
correct?
Yeah, my little sister Diana. Good for you.
Hmm?
My little
And Christopher.
Yeah, my brother Christopher.
He has your whole family tree on a whiteboard.
He's gonna read like a couple of lies that are like on
Tattoo of
IMDb or
your
something.
mom.
Dean watches her every single week. At the
But my
playground.
mom would be like, Danny, do me a favor, clean Diana's room and make, she messed up the Barbie doll house, make it nice. And I'd be like, okay. Like, get to like set up these like little scenes, like cleaning my sister's room. or
Cracking
my
your
mom.
knuckles, like let me
Yeah,
dive
like
into this.
finally get at that patio. It's been a disaster. It's so dirty and busy out there. Barbie can't even have a tea. Like, you have to get in there.
So how's the comedy going? Stand up.
Good, man. I mean, I am booked and blessed, like touring everywhere, doing a lot of colleges, which is just like I'm so spoiled because they love Mean Girls and it's like really fun and playing to like some of these schools have a hard time getting people to come out and see comics and do things and come to some of the activities even because everyone's got so much like a huge workload. But the kids respond really well and are showing up for my stuff, and it's been like so fun.
So when did stand up start for you? When did you get?
I was obsessed with stand up my entire life. I knew everybody's set when I was a teenager, like by watching all the different shows and stuff like that. I started out doing it in the early 2000s in New York City, but then early on got afraid of it because I was afraid I would sound gay, like just my voice, or I was afraid that like I would be like I met this girl and then like not be authentic or not be able to. The funniest shit that happened to me was the realest shit, and then I couldn't be real, and so it just turned me into I did sketch and improv and played other kinds of characters, and then when I started to like not care, like there was a time like around 2007 where like I didn't care to my friends and I didn't care to people I met and I didn't care that people knew I was gay. I just didn't want to tell people that I was going on auditions for that I was gay. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, you don't need to know my private life. That's my job and this is my life. But that kind of community, I started doing storytelling. Mm-hmm. So I started doing like The Moth and just any kind of storytelling show I could find, from Second City to like IO and all these other places. And that's just stand up with like less punchlines. And so a lot of the same premises and things that I talk about now are stuff that I've been doing for years, doing that. And I just wrote more jokes for them. And then I was in Toronto working on a TV show.
My hometown. What show?
Conviction. It was a Mark Gordon like drama.
Why
on
wasn't
ABC.
I on it? No.
You could have had my part of it.
You didn't have enough conviction.
But I was on the show, and then
Evidently.
they weren't using me a lot. My character was Haley Atwell's brother, and like she lived with me. So in the morning, I'd be like, "You forgot your coffee," and she would like leave, and then like, she'd come home at the end of the day, and I'd be like, "So what happened?" And then like that was like my part, like. So I felt very fulfilled, and so I was like, I'm here. I know I'm here for a year. I'm like here, like a series regular, doing nothing. Once every 2 weeks, have a gig. I was like, I know I'm off on Sundays. I was like, what's going on at Second City Toronto? I've been wanting to go to Second City Toronto since I was like 12. I watched SCTV on Nick at Night and all this shit. And I was like obsessed with it. And I was like, what do I do? So I looked it up, and my New Year's resolution was to get into stand-up because I had come out at this point. So I was like, now that I'm out, I feel like now I've got to like attack stand-up. It's like the one medium that I've always wanted to do that into. And then I look it up, and the one class that's available on the day I'm always off is stand-up. And I was like, all right, we're doing it. And so like I went in, and it was literally, I swear to you, it was like the first hour of the first class of the first day that the guy was just like, it's called a routine because you routinely do the same act. And I was like, you do? I was like, oh. And he's like, and then you do this. And I was like, oh, brr. Like, it was just like, I was like, I should have been doing this forever. I couldn't stop writing. It was like, I'd wake up every morning and write for 2 hours. Like, it was just like, for like a year, I just wrote constantly. And then I went to Florida for like a Christmas break. And I was like around my family with like this material like coming out the wazoo over there. Like, and so again, it was like fueling everything. And then I quietly came back to Los Angeles, and from January to, this is like 4 years ago, but from like January to like March, all I did was open mics, like fucking 3 open mics a day. Every open
Now,
mic.
do people know who you were?
In the city, sometimes. Every open mic in the city. Sometimes I was hide in the back till they call my name and do my shit and get out. If people were like really impressed and starstruck, I'd be like, I'm working on a new special. Like, they don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like,
That's what I tell people too.
but
I
it
take
was
stage.
actually really cool because it was like entering an area of show business where I, like, when you say like, I wish I could go back to high school and know what I know now kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I was entering a new facet of show business where I knew what I know now. Like, you know what I mean? After 20 years in the business, it was like, okay, now I know how to navigate this world in another way. So that was awesome for me. And, I had no breaks. Like everything was like a struggle. Like even trying to get in certain shows, it was like, well, do this little tiny show, in Encino for like, for no money. And then we'll see if you can maybe do this. Like, and it took a long time to break in and do things. I mean, even Flappers, which was very good to me. Like I have a show monthly there, and Barb Holiday, who's one of the owners of Flappers, is like my college agent. All that stuff came from me auditioning. I went to the audition on Tuesday and just like did the audition, got 5 minutes, like worked my way in, like I know I have the kind of career where like when I do like, because now I've been doing stand up I guess for 20 years in one way or another, but I haven't taken the time to write an hour, and now that I've actually done that, I've given it the attention that it deserves and all that stuff. That the second I have something come out, people are gonna be like, well, he just got that because he was in Mean Girls or some bullshit. Like, there's all the hater. I don't care. Like, to me, like even when like I wrote a musical based on Jersey Shore called Jersey Shore's a freaking rock opera, and that came out of me going, I haven't done UCB yet. I want to do Upright Citizens Brigade Comedy Theater. This was like in 2010, and I asked all my comedy friends. I was asking like all these people who are all like probably at the level I was at the time, and I was like, hey, do you guys want to all do 101 together and like make like the baddest 101 class and like make a team and they were like, no, I feel like I'm past that. I'm past that. And it was like, I didn't give a shit. I've always like rolled my sleeves up, been blue collar about it, don't really care. Like sacrifice is doing something that people won't do so you could do something people can't do. And so people won't go to open mics in the back of a garage behind a Food for Less, so and I'll do that shit. So now I have a tour. So it's like, I know that it's because of the work that I put in, and now I know all the work I have to do, and I'm just so tired. I'm like, fucking.
It's interesting that you say that because, like, I know a lot of gay comics who like are not out on stage, and it's always like leads. I always end a lot of them end up becoming like alcoholics because they just can't be who they really are on stage in their art form, which is comedy is like the most honest art form. I'm not sure if that's why it's so black and white, but I know a lot of like I used to open for a guy who, I was like this player on stage sort of, and then he was the married guy, and in real life I had a girlfriend I was faithful to, and he was like fucking everything, and it was just like, and he was pretty depressed about it because he wasn't authentic. And I think that part of stand-up comedy is like, unless you're doing like a Larry the Cable Guy, it's just a whole other character that
like a bit, which I consider, but it's so not me. And then also it was crazy because like my comedy isn't even really about any of that shit. I don't really talk about too much of me being gay. There's like parts of it that I do, but it's like not really.
But you're not avoiding it. Like you said,
like your
like
personality's definitely sprinkled in.
Yeah, there's some things. Yeah, I mean, in that one, I know what you saw, but like it's just some things that are like here and there, but it's like not like the meat and potatoes of it. It's more about like my family life.
But you're not like saying I have a girlfriend and a wife, or like
no,
that's,
yeah, I'm not lying. Yeah,
that's to me that's like.
But it's so interesting too that you say that because there's so many comedians that like it's so obvious they're gay and they're like, why would you think I'm gay? I'm like, you're wearing a dress. Like, isn't like
you're in pumps right
wrong
now.
For not like. It's very interesting. But
do you think a lot of that too is because I mean it's hard enough to get up there and do it and try and make people laugh on top of outwardly being gay and having people disapprove of that.
I think so many comics like put stop signs in front of them, like, oh, they're gonna think this.
Well, why do you think? There's only one gay comic right now that's passed here at the Comedy Store. Like, there's only one gay show at the
Who's
Improv.
That?
Just in Martindale. There's only one gay show at the Improv. I have the only gay show here. There's only one gay show at Flappers. It's like, what the hell? Like, why are we like, I always make a joke when I do my podcast. It's like Corny Collins Negro Hour. Like, we have like one day out of the month on a Thursday at midnight that we're allowed to like be together and be funny. Are gay people not funny? Gay people are some of the funniest fucking people I know. I don't give a fuck. I know all kinds of people, and gay people are funny. It's just like black people are funny, and for years they weren't allowed on stage. It's like, it's just, I don't know what it is. Like our show, it's actually, the show here at Comedy Store is so good, West Hollywood Brunch, because the audience is straight mostly. There's a few gay people that are friends of the comics, but like the people that come, we are playing to like almost an entirely straight audience who find us fucking hysterical. And when you have a whole bunch of gay people in a room, the comedy doesn't have to be like, so I'm gay. It's like we can get get fucking past that. Everybody here is gay. Now what? Now what's your next opinion? What is your lens? What do you think about politics? What do you think about life? What do you think about this? I want to know like what's next, and it like, so I think that's what's interesting to me is like getting people's deeper perspective. When I go see comedy and somebody's up there and they're like a single mom of 3 or whatever, I don't have to be a single mom of 3 to enjoy her set. I want to enjoy her set because I want to know what a single mom 3 thinks about Movie Pass or about like traffic laws or about like Grinder, anything. Like I want to see someone else's lens. So it's like why are our lenses dimmed? And I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you why. Same reason why. Who's the #1 gay comedian headliner?
#1 gay comedian Mario Cantone, maybe?
Is Mario Cantone selling out the seats that who's very funny, by the way, but is he selling out the seats that maybe like someone like Kevin Hart is? Or is he or anyone else that big? No.
Aaron Foley?
Yeah, a lesbian. Ellen, we have Ellen, we have Rosie.
Ellen DeGeneres.
We have lesbians. Lesbians are
rule the
so
world.
palatable by straight men. Straight men love lesbians, you know?
I don't want
They let you cut the line.
I don't want to start outing people now. I've named 5 people that I know are gay.
No, really, it's like we have Mario Cantone, we have Ant, we have a few others. But
Jim
it's like,
David.
but they're not
I know
like
Jim David.
selling out. They're not like selling out amphitheaters, and they're not a major headliner. They're not doing
Dave
the same.
Rubin.
They're not selling out rooms that like some other people are. Like they're not on marquees at the Laugh Factory. They're just not anywhere in our country. Why?
Thomas Dale. Thomas Dale's on marquees.
Okay. Well,
but yeah, I hear you. I don't know. I don't know why they answer.
I don't know either.
I have no idea.
I know why. Toxic masculinity.
Come on.
Absolutely.
Toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Explain.
Well, yeah, explain this, please.
A toxic masculinity. Well, I can explain because I'm Italian, and Italian men's 2 main imports to our country are pizza and toxic masculinity. It's like they're both invented by dads that were too lazy to feed their kids something else. It's just, no. It's just literally like, we are, like I said, the blue aisle and the pink aisle. There's no gray area. Like in our country, I think maybe it comes from so many wars in recent years, like of our generations, like World War II and stuff. Like the energy of like a man being a man. You know what I mean? I don't know where it stems from or how it's come about, but our country is the most uptight about masculinity. They can't be gay. Remember when it was like such a shock in the late 90s? And I know you two, looking at your hair, I know you know what I'm talking about, like metrosexuality.
Fuck you.
Like how that was. No, you used product.
Wait, but
That was not cool.
I'm not really sure what you mean though. Like, okay,
generation-
toxic masculinity.
the
So, like,
generation before
toxic
yours-
means like deadly masculinity, right?
No, it just means it's toxic to a person's soul. Like it's just like you could put gel in your hair and you can like wear moisturizer and you can go take care of yourself now because someone in the 90s opened up metrosexuality, which isn't even a term anymore. Because now all men groom.
But first of all, it's
men
not.
take
But it's
care of
not just. But it's not
themselves.
just men.
Culture's changed.
It's not just straight men making all these choices. Number one, so you're kind of putting the blame on them. There are plenty of women and gay people in charge. So you can't say like
Yeah, no.
toxic
I'm
masculinity.
sorry, you're wrong. Like, do you look at Washington? Do you look at media? Do you look at everyone else? They're
Gay,
not.
gay people aren't in charge of. There aren't gay people in charge of show business.
No.
Really?
If there are gay people in charge of
No,
show business,
not
the number.
not all of show business, but there's no studio heads or
No.
producers that are gay.
Some, but they're not even on our side. I'm telling you right now, it's those people that are keeping us down. I forget what his name is. Oh man, this guy just came out. This producer for Green Arrow, maybe or something, where I know I'm pointing at the computer as if you look it up.
I like have one hand like
I don't
floating
even-
towards the keyboard. I'm like,
I just think it's kind of.
He just said that executives told him for like he's on a superhero show, and he said for years he's gay, and he said that executives told him for years not to hire.
Were
gay
you ever
actors.
told to be like gay it down?
Oh yeah, I've been told they read light.
by
What the
like
fuck
your
is that? I read
boyfriend or
light. No, by casting directors
really?
that I read light.
You
I'm
read
like, what's
light?
that fucking mean? That's like telling me like
I just think it's kind of lazy to say toxic masculine. I agree. Look, if there's not that many gay headliners or gay people at comedy clubs, that's a problem. That's a problem.
I'm sorry, some of
But
the funniest fucking people I know are gay comedians.
1,000%, and no one's arguing that.
Yeah, but they don't have
at least I'm not.
You
arguing
book
that.
so many LGBT acts.
Look, there's
I
so
book
many.
half the. I book because
Like, I'll go on record.
book-
I'll say it. I don't even care. Why? Like Drew Droege should have been a groundling. Like all these people. I have a whole
Who?
list.
I don't even know who these people
sorry,
are.
well, they're because they're gay. Like there's a list of people
I don't
who
know who
should be famous if they weren't gay. They would be famous if they weren't gay. And I probably could be having the same conversation right now in 1950 saying they would be famous if they weren't black. Like it's literally the same thing. Like we just don't have the roles. We don't have the thing. There's no. Do you know what's interesting
Well,
to
it's
me
in
that
the
Bruno could be a #1 movie? Bruno, okay, Sacha
Really
Baron
great
Cohen.
movie.
Great movie. That's a gay romantic comedy. Like
Okay.
Bruno's character's gay, and in the end, he ends up with that little guy, and he's like,
It's hilarious.
it's hilarious, right? But it's like you couldn't have a real gay romantic comedy. Like a bunch of bros will go see that because they know it's Sacha Baron Cohen and they know
Wasn't
he's
there,
not really
was it-
gay. Is this honestly? There's
Was it
things.
Brokeback Mountain? That's hilarious.
Two straight guys, great. Two straight guys. We know it's not real.
So hot.
We know it's not real. You know what I mean? It's like
Is it professional
Brokeback
wrestling?
Mountain.
No,
I mean,
no.
we're-
But what do you say about somebody who like Troye Sivan or
look,
Sam
we're getting
Smith?
there. They're breaking through, and you're not mentioning actors or comedians.
Doogie
but yes.
Howser?
Yeah, maybe one of the ones. Maybe one of the ones that have broken through. But like, it's happening. A little bit. Like, and it is changing. I'm not
Everyone on
saying-
E? I mean, I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of gay people out there, and I don't care. I laugh at like Nicky said. I book a comedy show every night, every month Tuesday, and I book the funniest people.
You're one of the good ones, Adam.
I don't care, but I just think that.
Yeah, why are you
but
making
I do
this
have
all
an
about
issue.
you?
I have an issue with toxic masculinity because I feel like it's a lazy way to just say, oh, it's because of toxic. And I don't even,
36 actors have won Oscars for playing LGBTQ characters, and no gay actor has ever won an Oscar and been out when he won it.
You say no gay guys played a straight guy?
No gay guy has ever won an Oscar. Period.
No gay guys ever won an Oscar.
When he was not out yet.
You
Kevin
probably-
Spacey
We
did, but
fuck
he's
people
canceled. We
named
don't talk
Oscar.
about him anymore.
Spacey.
And Joel Grey did, but at the time he was married to a woman and he came out after, like later in life. But other than those two, no gay actors ever won an Oscar. Why? Are they not good actors?
John
Like,
Travolta.
why
never
isn't
won
a gay guy
Man
selling
and
out
woman.
Madison Square Garden?
Okay, so then let's put it this way: Do you think that?
Didn't Ricky Martin win something? For
Don't
something?
you think that
Wasn't out.
Oh.
this
And not an
will
Oscar.
start to change for the gay community when sort of the mandate changes?
No,
The
it's
same way that
what we have to do is
What about
make our
Mayor
own.
Pete? What about Mayor Pete?
Americans in film.
I
and
love Mayor
television.
Pete. One of the things
Look
that
at how the floodgates for African American actors and actresses opened up. And
Do you know what changed
it's
that?
Not, it's not like they were not less.
All right, how many
talented.
gay
do you know what changed
people-
that? John Singleton, Spike Lee, like
What's the
black
percentage of
people
gay
making
men?
movies for black people.
Right.
Gay
and that
people
took
need
a
to
what?
make
long
movies for
time.
gay people.
Out of what?
That took
Yeah.
a long time.
Out
It
of,
didn't
out of,
happen
out of,
overnight.
okay, so how many gay men you think out of all like the men? How many men are gay? What percentage of men are gay?
2 and 20.
2 and 20, right? So it's 1 in 10. So
It's not-
10%.
It's 2 and 20, like when you have a bigger group. But that's the saying. I don't
So
know why.
10% of men are gay.
Like if you have 10 men, maybe not all of them will be gay. But if you get 20 men, at least 2 of them will be gay. It's like the quantity.
That's kind of weird.
I know.
When it was, all right, so then you're
Maybe
saying
that's
that.
hard. I'm not good at math. I'm
So you're
good
saying
at
that
second-
10%.
I was gonna say it's already hot in this
So-
room, and now the
so you're saying-
exact long division that I'm doing.
So like 10% of the men on movies should be gay. Is what 1 out of every 10. So basically, it's right.
Sure.
Sort of.
Maybe, I guess.
And they may very well be because we don't know about it.
Yeah, you're right. I understand your dilemma, and I understand why that would.
I don't really
piss
have a
me
dilemma
off.
about it anymore because I don't give a fuck. Like I really don't. I don't care. I'll sit on this podcast all day talking about being gay. I'll be gay everywhere else. I don't give a shit anymore. If they don't want me, I don't care. I'll make my own show. Like that's what
That's
I do.
what you're doing.
That's exactly what I'm doing. And I don't care. I'm directing a feature next year. I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna just keep doing things. Like I just gotta keep.
Are you
making
only
my
gonna
own
put gay
content.
actors in your feature?
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Well, they're gay character in the gay characters. Yeah.
Oh.
How do you feel about putting a straight character in a gay?
I don't
Role.
care about that. I think people are interchangeable, but I do think if I'm making a gay queer thriller that I'm making, and that the gay lead should be gay.
What if you done gay things like once in a while? Like you were like, that's, I don't know, that's a
Like
cute
a
joke.
bi
Suppose you
actor.
let a girl put a finger.
You know something
What if
truthfully?
I do like a little bit of butt stuff?
Like I had a
So-
wrestling, like I got a boner one time in a wrestling.
It's great
match.
that you're talking about that, actually. Because great that you're talking about it, because the true unicorn of Hollywood is the bisexual male. He's in nothing. There's nobody in TV that's bi. Like bi's worse than gay. They have less representation. Bi representation is really important. They have less representation than even gay men do. There's no bi characters in anything. People don't understand bi. They can't wrap their mind around it. They're like, bi now, gay later. Like they don't understand a true bisexual person, and so that's the worst. And a bisexual person could have a wife and could pass, or could have a girlfriend and pass or whatever. And so because they could pass or whatever, they can float in between being public and not being public without much problems.
Now, a question I have for you is: Perez Hilton was here a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about how he didn't want his son to be gay because he didn't want his son to be ridiculed, and he didn't want his son to have to go through that. I know, going off Dean's shirt of being a daddy bear, and
Sure.
you want to have kids someday.
Well, I wouldn't want my
How
son to
would-
be fat. Like, I mean, look, I'm a big guy, but like, it was hard. It's not easy because everybody else is an asshole. I'll lift my children up, like, to be whoever they want to be and whatever they want to be. And if my son or daughter is gay or trans or whatever, I will support that. But I don't wish it. It's a harder life.
How did your parents take it when you told them?
That's a really longer, deeper question.
You show them the Mean Girls check and they
Did I read this correctly? You came out in 2014.
Yeah, publicly, like professionally. But I went to conversion therapy, and the therapist at the conversion place made me tell my mom it was her fault. So my mom didn't take it too well. My mom was the most supportive
What's that like? I
mama
couldn't
bear
imagine.
who like had my back my whole entire life and was like an incredible person my whole entire life and never would have when I told her that I was bi because that's how I came out. or bi-curious, I said, because it's what they diagnosed me as. When I told that to my mom, she was like, duh, I know. And she was about to be like, baby, I love you anyway. And I'm like, and it was your fault. So that didn't go over too well. Fast forward, me and my mom have a great relationship. She's been on like pride floats with me for like, Virgin and like San Francisco and like all this amazing things.
Nikki says you're like a huge celebrity in the gay, not in the straight community, but like you're a bear, like you're like the sex symbol amongst gay people. Like they have their posters and stuff.
Well, I do have a strong bear following. I mean, I was on a TV show called Looking on HBO, and this is another thing
which you've got some critical acclaim for.
Yeah, and this
Eddie?
This is another thing. I was a sexualized bigger male in the gay lexicon. That's like a whole nother conversation, but that's something that doesn't happen either. Like gay people, everything that we're served comes with like a side of abs. Like if they're like, welcome to the tire shop, it's like a guy with abs, like holding the tire near his abs. Like, so we don't see different body, and this goes for everybody actually. It's not just gay people, but like we don't see different shapes. We see sizes and we see sometimes, but we don't really see shapes of people and people looking different. And so I'm a person that looks different. Like even when I saw like a big guy with his shirt off, I was like, he's not that fat. He's only like 15 pounds overweight and he's playing the fat guy. What does that make me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and or like I would see someone have like a round belly and not have like my little pear-shaped love handle or whatever it is. Just I didn't see my body on screen. So when I started showing my body on screen, it was really impactful. People who looked like me, or people who looked different, or people who felt like they looked better than me. They were like, wow, if you could do it, I could do it. And to me, it was like about lying to myself and, just like my character would do it. I would.
And you had HIV on the show, right?
My character was HIV positive, yeah.
So you're a pretty healthy guy with HIV, right?
Well, people are these days.
Yeah.
People aren't dying really of HIV unless they don't know they have it. That's a whole part of the narrative that we were talking about on that show, is that people live with HIV.
It's crazy. I was driving in like West Hollywood late at night. I was driving, and there was like outside the club there was like free AIDS. There was like a van, like a ice cream truck that you can get like an AIDS test, instant AIDS test. I'm like, that's got to be like the biggest cock blocker ever.
No, actually, the reason that's there, our community in West Hollywood has the LGBT Center and the Gay Men's Health Crisis. There's a lot of places over there that you can get taken care of. People who live in WeHo don't really have a problem getting care. It's the people that are coming from like Compton and the people that are coming from all the way from Indio and everywhere to come to West Hollywood or even around the world that are coming to one of the biggest cultural gay meccas in the country, West Hollywood. And that's what that service is there for.
Yeah, but
Those
I'm
people
saying
who
like,
can't have access in their home
you're
and
at a
feel
club and you're
comfortable.
like, hey, I want to go back to my place. And then you go and you get tested and it says you have HIV. That's gonna ruin your whole night, right? Like, wouldn't that be
Like,
like?
wait, when was the last time?
Statistically, for one person a day. So, yeah.
I mean, but
For
that's
everybody else, they know that they're, and here's the thing, it actually doesn't ruin your life, it helps your life, because if you know that you have HIV and you're in proper care and you're in
your
proper
life, but that
medication,
night, like you're not gonna
then
get.
you can like get you can have lower your viral count, so you're undetectable and you can go back to being negative.
No, that's crazy. I think Magic Johnson helped a lot with that because people were like,
Yes, definitely.
Before that.
And Arthur Ashe.
which I never understood. Like, okay, like Eazy-E got AIDS and was like done in like a week, and then other people like live forever.
You have to be on medication. You have to take care of yourself.
He just got it too late.
It was the same with Freddie Mercury. If Freddie Mercury had have been able to maybe last another 6 months to a year, he would have been able to get a different type of care and probably would have lived longer.
Sure, and Rock Hudson,
he
who
was someone who had the money and the wherewithal to get the drugs at the time, which there were very few
I got a
of.
phone call one time that said like you need to get tested immediately. It was the worst phone call ever. Some girl tested positive and they called me. So I ran to the only thing open was the Gay Men's Health Clinic. They were the nicest people, by the way. They super like made me feel very warm. And then I almost passed out during the test. I hate blood. I get like
No, you're one of those guys.
I
you
see.
pussy.
Oh, I'm the biggest pussy.
toxic masculinity.
You fag.
No, it's the word. I hate getting blood drawn. I'll pass out. I hate needles. I'd be the worst heroin addict. Honestly, needles fucking scare me.
You and Liam, my son Liam. Oh my God.
Really? He's like that?
We got to chase him around the room.
I've
He's
passed
in
out
full
before.
panic
I've
mode.
passed out.
I used to be that way, and then I gave blood, and then I got over it.
Yeah.
I like faced it, but now I'm not allowed to give blood because I'm gay.
Really? Oh, that's
Gay
weird.
people
Yeah, I
can't give
can't
blood.
You can't?
No, it's
I
illegal.
can't. Yeah, I went to and I was like, I haven't had sex. The last time I had sex, Obama was
But
president.
can't you give it to other gay
Why
people?
didn't I know this?
I don't think so.
Because it's an antiquated law that's like ridiculously stupid.
Now, what do you think
Okay,
about?
so what happens? Sorry, Adam. What happens if you are HIV and you give blood? It goes through a screening process,
Yeah, but they don't. If you're gay,
Yeah, just having sex with a
just
man, you
being
can't
gay,
donate blood.
you can't, or bisexual. If you have sex with a man, you cannot give blood.
That's so weird.
It's illegal.
That's so
Well, now we
weird.
can't get blood, Adam.
Well, yeah. Now, what is it? Now, what is it about? Like, because this whole thing about transgender kids winning, like the girl who won the muscle contest, right? The lifting the powerlifting. There was a transgender. There was a guy who became a woman, or he was a woman but didn't know it. The whole, I don't know how the proper way to say it. So he broke every record, and now they're taking it away.
The same with the MMA fighter.
Because people, the MMA fighter was different. The problem I had with the MMA fighter was that he didn't disclose it used to be. She didn't disclose it used to be a man. You got to tell people,
Right,
like,
but
you
if he
can't-
did, would it make it different?
I
'Cause
think
he was,
someone
he was
should
fighting women.
Yeah, fighting women. I think you should know that your opponent was born a man. I think that might be. I mean, the problem is it wasn't on the forum. Like it wasn't one of those things. But I didn't even have the problem with it. But they got mad because I was making jokes about it, and then whatever. That was years ago.
What's your question?
The question is, how do you feel about
wanna get into the
transgenders in sports, kids?
Transgender people doing sports, I don't really know the proper thing to say about that. I think that sports shouldn't be separated by gender anyway. I think everyone should be able to play every sport. That's pretty much how I feel, period.
Yeah, but then women playing football, that might get rough.
So not for tough women.
Yeah, but then
Isn't that a girl that's a quarterback? She's like a biological girl and she's a quarterback and she like kicks ass.
I'm sure there are, but it would be an aberration. Not all women playing football, but some would be great. You're right. But
yeah,
for
but
the
you know
most
what?
part,
If
separating by
some of
league.
these guys that are playing football are training from the time they're 2, am I wrong?
Yeah.
So maybe there'll be women. If it's open up to everyone, maybe there'll be women that are training from the time they're 2.
I've talked to women on my podcast. I have an MMA podcast. I talked to a woman Olympian who's like took bronze in the thing, and she's like, when you train with men, it's just different. She's like,
Then
and this is
don't
coming-
do it
This
for
is coming
her.
from her.
I'm just saying that there are women who would love to play against men and be fine.
I think if they're good enough, absolutely. But don't you
I
think there
think it
should be like a
should be like every
transgender
per-
Do you
Olympics
think
where
No,
they have like?
no.
Do you think certain sports they just can't? Like
Why?
You mentioned football, and I'm a big hockey fan, and I'm like, there are a lot of great female hockey players that I think could compete on the NHL level.
Really?
Why can't everyone just play? Whoever's the best gets it, like the acting part.
You're right, but I think like for my joke, the transgender, the transgender Olympics, like it would be great if like the javelin was made of like dicks that were chopped off.
Nah, not
Okay.
funny.
All right, I thought it was
Wow,
Listen,
you
a
went
sh-
back-
like a straight-
backwards.
A straight cis white male making a transgender joke is just never going to be funny. You got to let
That's
him go.
not true.
That's 100% true. I'm over them.
But as a
I make
comedian,
it-
how could you say that and I understand your point of this perspective, right? But in terms of like political correctness, as a comedian, can't you say that there's free reign to talk about anything
Yeah, but you're
that's
punching
funny?
down.
No, no, you're not punching down.
Yeah, you are. You're punching down when you're talking about a marginalized group. You are.
First of all, no
Suppose you're
disrespect,
part of a
no
marginalized
disrespect,
group.
You don't speak for the whole group. Okay, you're speaking for yourself. So,
What do you
like,
mean?
like when you're saying, on behalf of all gay people, you can't make gay jokes, right? But that's not. There are plenty of gay people that are cool with guys making gay jokes. So like, no one like the gay people. They're not appoint one person to speak for everybody.
I don't necessarily think that a gay joke is punching down, but I think transgender is punching down.
But I know plenty of transgenders that actually like jokes be made because they want to be treated equal.
I don't think they want to be called transgenders.
Nikki doesn't have any transgender
What do they want to be called?
fans.
Transgender
You have someone who
people.
wants to beat you up at the dime.
I do have somebody who wants to beat me up at the dime.
Yeah, I just think that you should be able to make jokes about anybody and everyone, and that therefore everyone's equal game.
How
As long
many?
as
You
jokes
know,
are funny.
How many transgenders do you know that are okay with to have jokes being made about them?
I know at least one.
Why is making jokes about transgender taboo or off the table?
I just don't think it's necessary. Like I said, punching down. Like it's like a marginalized group of people who have it pretty tough, who like are trying to rise up right now, and you're going after the people that
Well,
are trying
humor
to
is
rise
what brings
up.
people together, though. That's the and
Not when
and-
you're
and
attacking
funny.
them about it.
It depends. You're not necessarily attacking those people. You're
Look,
making,
if a transgender person wants to enter like roast battle, great. Like then they're into it. But if a transgender person's like sitting in the audience and all of a sudden someone's calling them out and like I don't know if that's really a good idea.
for that particular
Are you talking
transgender.
about pointing humor at them specifically, or just making a joke in general? About
Like I'm okay with you. I'm a comedian. I'm fine. You won't really say anything in this room that's gonna like really offend me. But like when you're talking to a whole group of people, there are things that make my ears hot. Where I'm just like, why are you doing that? I can't tell you how many times I want to like heckle a comedian that I see up there who is usually straight, and usually a guy, talking about transgender people. It's just not funny. Yeah, it's a hot button topic right now because they're making progress in their quest for acceptance, but it's not something I don't find that stuff funny. I find it transphobic. I find it off-putting because it puts their mission backwards.
Well, I think jokes are jokes.
I do too, in a lot of sense.
And you know, if it's a terrible joke, it's a terrible joke. If it's a funny joke, it's a funny joke. But I think for the most part, you know, humor makes people laugh,
Jokes
including the
heal
person,
things.
including the person who happens to be transgender.
Look, when they came out with the Caitlyn Jenner costume at Halloween, like it was a star. Like everyone was like, "Oh, look at this! It's the Caitlyn Jenner costume." Now someone's dressed up like Caitlyn Jenner this year. It's like not that funny. So what does that mean? It's like we're used to it. Like so, it's like sometimes you have to like joke about it to get used to it. I get that. Like sometimes I always use the example of like when I compare blaxploitation to gay exploitation in cinema. So like blaxploitation, like it started out where people would be like, they were like "Mo milk, sir," that was like their only line in a friggin' movie, and then it can get to the point where that gets boring. And then it gets to a point where, like, even when Wedding Singer came out and Ellen Dow sang Rapper's Delight, and she was like, hip hop, the old lady, she's like, hip hop, the hip, hip, hip. We were like screaming watching that trailer. I'd never seen an old white lady rap before, right? But that joke's so old now. So many old white ladies have rapped in movies since Wedding Singer that if you saw old white lady rapping on a commercial, would you scream in your seat? I don't know. So what does that mean? That means that maybe we're almost ready for old white lady rapper. Like maybe we could actually stomach it if one really came out. I mean, eventually Iggy Azalea is going to be 80. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's not really a rap.
She's going to be like 80 Azalea. But I'm just...
No, I hear you. I just think that like when you set rules on things, I mean, and also like appointing people down, like you said, gay people are down, or this black people are down, white people are down. Before you know it, the only person you can make fun of is Donald Trump. And that's. Do
I want to listen to Kevin Hart's jokes about gay people? No.
No, you're right.
Like, do I want to sit watching a comedian that's in an amphitheater talk about gay people? No. Because we can't get there.
But that's you and other people.
But
other people might want to hear those jokes, and maybe other gay people want to hear those jokes.
I don't know, man. I'm telling you from a guy who runs like two of the biggest gay shows in town. We don't fucking want to hear it. Like everybody talks about it. It's a conversation that we all have about how, especially trans jokes. A trans jokes coming out of a straight white guy is just never funny to me. Like
I got a pretty good
I don't,
take on
I've got 6
not even a black
kids,
guy.
And I get tired of hearing like the whole dad spiel in stand-up. I just like, when was it, like the 90s, like every female comedian was all about like dating and their period. And it was like, okay, enough of that. Like I'm tired. I don't want to hear that anymore. So I
understand, but there's always like new twists on jokes and and to me like,
but there's definitely
there's always, of course, and I understand. I think also we're like, there's different types of jokes. Obviously, if someone's like "fuck transgenders" and
no,
then
look,
that would just be ridiculous.
I don't know you very well, but I know you're a nice dude and your heart's in the right place and like all this stuff. But a joke about severed dicks that came off of a person who had like body part issues and had to like go, had to go through therapy in order to get to the point and take hormonal treatments, and that they don't want to hear it. They just don't want to. I promise you, I know a lot of transgender people and I know many that do not want to hear it. Like it's sad because we should be able to have a little more freedom, but we're living in a different place right now. I personally think with my comedy, I try to stay on a unifying political correct stream. It may be boring for a lot of people, and I understand that that's not the history of comedy. I know where comedy came from. I know how funny. I laugh my ass off at roasts. Like I could never do one. Like I could be roasted, but I couldn't hurt someone's feelings. It's not my nature. And so but I understand. I think we're like when we were like in Obama's America or even like a safer America, like even pre 9/11, even I felt like we were like, give us the hits. We need the hit. Like we could take the punches in the 80s and shit like that. But now that we're in this very volatile place where like race is a problem, gender issues are being like
those have always been problems.
Not in the way that it is right now. Like we're having privileges revoked. I
mean, during the Holocaust, when like the Jews were in like Auschwitz, they were making jokes to cheer themselves up. I mean, it's just like comedy is what heals like these things. And,
right, but Danny just mentioned though, like basic human rights are starting to be taken away. We're talking about women's rights, gay rights, like basic human rights under this administration are starting to be taken away.
Talking about like in Alabama right now with the
No, I'm talking about like Obama added us to the census so they could just find out how many gay people are in each neighborhood, so they could find out what kind of facilities are needed or what kind of money could be allotted for programs and things like that. And we're just out of the census. We don't even exist now, like as far as the census goes. Just like even to be like present, that the trans-military ban. They want to,
which is ridiculous. But I think that like jokes about that, about not necessarily. I mean, every joke has a victim, right? There's a victim to every single joke. And sometimes you can make a joke about certain topics where the victim would not be whatever. It's about being clever with your jokes and smart with your jokes. And I think that when you start saying things are off topic, when you're like taking out topics, then you're really limiting comedy. And I think that's also.
But who's
like
the victim in a transgender joke but the transgender person? There's no other victim.
It depends on the joke.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But I wonder if our times are changing. Like, it is a hot button topic that maybe.
That's exactly when you should be
I-
making the jokes. I mean,
I don't know, but I kind of
look, I don't go up there and do an hour of transgender jokes. I don't. I think I may
just
have like
think
one.
To me, transgender jokes, if they're not being told by a trans person, or maybe in certain cases a gay person, an LGBT person, but I think like when they're being told, it falls into the line of like Holocaust jokes, rape jokes, like, you know, just jokes that like the untouchable
I've
areas.
heard some great jokes about both those.
But you're a comic. We have a different stomach. We can handle it. Like sitting in this room, turning the mics off, we could tell jokes about all those things. And
That's what you should be telling on stage.
I don't know.
As long as you wrote them.
I disagree a little bit. I understand where you're coming from. And I think certain people have a certain charm and finesse and can like pull that shit off. I don't think many people. I don't know anyone that I could think could really pull off a good transgender joke and make everybody in the room feel okay.
Anthony Jeselnik can pull off a really good rape joke.
Well, that's someone who's, again, like, I think Anthony's like Sarah Silverman, where they say things that you know they don't mean. You know what I mean? They're like, some of their jokes are just like, this is such. Like when Sarah Silverman tells a joke like that, like, you know, it's not her opinion. She's making fun of the asshole that would say something like that. It comes from like.
But suppose somebody had that same appeal.
Yeah, if you have a filter, I think that there's a really, like I said, it's a charm or like a finesse.
They also didn't start at Sarah Silverman. They had to get there.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's same with Jeselnik. I mean, there's a lot. I hear what you're saying, and I totally respect your opinion. I feel like when you go on stage, the only thing you're really responsible for is being funny. And if you can make anything funny, go do it. Like that's really the main thing. And if you're not funny, then people will stop booking you.
Yeah.
You know, that's really.
I just think there's a lot of things to make jokes about why that, like, you know what I mean, like.
Of course, I'm not saying everyone on this show has to have transgender jokes.
No, but I mean, like I saw Chappelle's special. Did not think his trans joke was funny. You know, I didn't like the Kevin Hart moment. I thought that was disgusting and like really bothered me.
What, the Twitter stuff?
Yeah, like I know that was old or whatever, but like it just, that whole thing that like, I mean, it really bothered me. Like when that happened, you know, where he said he would like break a dollhouse over his son's head if he found out his son was gay.
Weird. That was weird, but at the same time, you have to look at context. And
here's the problem with that, though. This is how toxic masculinity gets spread. It becomes something that Kevin Hart says because he's like, I'm a good person and I love gay people, but I just said that because it's a joke. But then the guy who's listening to the album is then like at the water cooler and he's like, fuck that. I would break a fucking dollhouse over his head, and it becomes a real thing because people don't.
That's not Kevin's fault, though.
You have a responsibility when you are guiding an audience to a thought that when you're giving them the thoughts that you're giving them.
That's like saying you go see Natural Born Killers, right? And then all of a sudden someone sees Woody Harrelson shoot people, and you go out and shoot them.
But Natural Born Killers is presented as characters doing something again, whereas like Kevin Hart is, I'm Kevin Hart and I'm saying this on a mic because it's from my heart. Like that's what we're doing, you know. Unless you're presenting a character the way Sarah Silverman or Jeselnik does.
It's an art form.
I've taken some bits. I've taken some bits from comedians as you know, verbatim as law. Like a couple of Louis C.K. things about kids.
Then you're retarded.
And yeah, I have no, but then I caught myself. I was like, going, what the fuck? This man, this is what he does for a living. He's making a joke. But for like a minute there, I was like, oh yeah, fuck, he's right. Yeah, fucking kids, this, that. I'm like, what are you doing? So I know what you're saying. Like people will walk away from
someone who loves comedy, like honestly, and I worship Dangerfield and all his specials and all that shit. I could tell you like I could almost tell you the order they all went in. You know what I mean? Like I rocked it like my favorite album. But I had a lot of those things used against me in the schoolyard, and I knew where they came from. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like that's where I mean we are the jesters.
That did not come from you getting picked on. Not come from Dangerfield's albums.
No, but I'm saying like I'm giving you an example, like just a comedian saying certain shit or whatever. Like I mean, even like I don't know, I don't even do fat for fat's sake jokes. I know fat is funny. I know watching me get out of a Fiat is fucking hysterical, but like I don't think that I don't get up there and I'm like I'm a fat bastard. No, I'm like baby, I'm good looking. I'm a fat. I'm gorgeous. Like I'll celebrate who I am. I just don't. Those like like it just bothers. I don't know. It bothers me because it puts people down. You know, like it makes people feel low. And maybe it's because in a fortunate way, but also in an unfortunate way, I'm known from this movie Mean Girls, and people when I get up there, people don't want to hear me be like, "So sucking a dick." Or they don't want to hear Blue from me. They don't want to hear certain things like that from me because they're hearing it from something that is nostalgic to them, to their childhood. Like, so I don't know. Like,
But you give them what you want.
It's funny. I did this joke. I used to have this joke where I was talking about. I have this whole bit about Pompeii and about how much like I'm afraid of Pompeii and how. People got frozen doing. When the volcano erupted, everyone got frozen in exactly what they were doing at the time. And I think about this anytime I'm doing something I don't want to be frozen doing. And then I had this whole joke about like a dildo, and that's like one of the reasons why I never had a dildo because I was afraid Pompeii would come. And I had like this agent from my manager, and then my agent, and then another agent from the comic that was headlining that night. This is a long time ago. Who came up to me, and they were just like, "Don't do the dildo bit." And I'm like, "But I love the Pompeii." They're like, "The Pompeii bit's great, but it just doesn't play." And they were like, they were like,
them.
"Do you have another way to do it?"
Was the crowd laughing?
Wait, but they were like, "Do you have another way to do it?" And I'm like, "Well, I could do it about ice cream." And then when I changed the bit to ice cream, the audience roared, and it was just so interesting to me because I guess it was just like something where like I was playing something dirty that didn't have to be for some reason, and it was like once I switched it. I mean, that's where my perspective comes from. Like
But see,
for
to
me
that's
personally,
hilarious though. The dildo is more funny than
An ice cream dildo would be even. That would knock it
A
out of the
dildo made
park.
a rocky road.
Oh, forget about it.
I don't know. People, I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of flack, like conversations like this when I talk to comics.
We have pitchforks waiting for you.
No,
outside. I
I'm
hope
like
you're
a
right.
wimp,
No, we're
maybe
just
I'm like
kidding.
a
No,
wimp,
you're
maybe
this.
about it,
A lot
or
of
too
a lot of
sensitive.
a lot of yours, like you're kind of a new generation of a new breed woke comedian generation, and I understand, especially where you're coming from. I just think that you got to be super careful when you start putting boundaries on things.
Also, my audience doesn't want to hear it, so I'm being careful of my audience. I told Jussie Smollett joke. It was harmless. Jussie, like, I know Jussie, and when that whole thing went down, it was just horrible. But anyway, I made a Jussie Smollett joke, and the audience was just like crickets. It was a funny ass joke, but I was
What
just
was
like,
the joke?
I don't even remember. It was something about a new collaboration, like a Nigerian trainer shoe. Like that couldn't be seen on camera. I don't know. It was like something, I don't really remember anymore. But I just did it, and the audience was like crickets. Like it was just.
But you
like,
did it once.
No, a few times. It was just like not. It just they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear me be a bitch.
But what do you want to do?
Make people laugh.
So then just do what you want. And,
Well, I have to focus.
sometimes you have to.
You know your audience, right? You know. Your
I don't really have an
gotta
audience.
stage it.
The
I
audience,
can't
the audience for me is whoever shows up at the comedy club. It's fucking my audience is who's ever there. That's my audience. Like,
Right, so there you go.
so-
But if you have a following like Danny, then you're
I
getting a
understand.
certain person,
No,
you're
of
getting a-
course. In the colleges, you got to give them a certain thing.
It's not even
like-
colleges. Like I mean, I'm playing a Funny Bone on Sunday. It's like I'm talking about my audience. Period. Like people that come see me. Like it's like I have like a certain level of freedom with them, and maybe there's some way, and maybe I have to work on it, but maybe there's some way I could win them over to do it. But then I'm like, why? Because at least I'm walking out, also being a nice guy, like which is maybe not a comedian's problem, but like for me, like it works, like I mean that's what people are expecting when they walk in. So it's what they get when they walk out, and they're still laughing just as hard as they are if I was saying like butthole jokes all night.
Now, one thing I want to ask you is I know it's super trendy right now to be a daddy in the gay community, and you talk about how you're right on time for that.
I know.
How does that feel to be a daddy?
I'm stoked. I turned 41 this week, and and dad bods are in. I'm like, yeah, if I'm finally in vogue.
Do you like Dean's T-shirt?
Yes, I did as soon as I saw it.
You don't look 41 at all. And happy
Well, thank
belated
you,
birthday, by
thank
the way.
you. But yeah, I am still that age and earned every year. But like, I'm just happy that like I'm in style. Like if for once in my life, I read this whole thing in Brooklyn. It was like bellies are in Brooklyn, like around like 2007. I was like, I just fucking moved. And then they said in California water that they found antidepressant, hair growth formula, erectile dysfunction medicine, and fluoride. I was like, I bathe in it now.
I just read that.
It sounds like my cabinet.
Yeah. Sounds like I had a pipe leaking somewhere that needs to be looked at.
So I mean, it's just cool. I think it's dope to
So what's next for you, Danny? We got Royal Shakespeare Company, The Heart of Robin Hood.
Oh yeah, I did this play here at the Wallace Annenberg in Beverly Hills by the Royal Shakespeare Company and this experimental theater troupe in Iceland called Vestaport, and it was really cool. And then the Chinese government does this festival every year, and they chose it as one of their American selections. So I'm
That's
going
awesome.
to do this play in Hong Kong, where
Now-
I've never been.
Now you
In
do
Hong Kong,
everything.
you're gonna love it. China's
Right.
awesome.
You do everything. Broadway,
I haven't been on actual Broadway yet.
Well,
but
off-Broadway,
still
but-
like want to do it. But yeah,
I like to say
do.
Broadway. It just sounds.
I do everything. Yeah, I try to do as many different things as possible. If there's something I haven't done yet, I probably will.
And you're a
do it.
dancer too?
No,
You said you were a dancer.
No, I said an actor who moves well.
Oh.
That's a theater term.
Oh, I think
when they, when they,
I've seen you do a pirouette, so I'd
I
like
was
to.
gonna feel I was
when
gonna
they
feel
have
really out of shape if all of a sudden you did like the worm.
when
and
they
shit.
have an audition, if they want like dancer, they write dancer. You better know how to friggin' dance because
Yeah.
the audition's gonna be like, and 5, 6, 7, 8, I got, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
But if you're one who moves well, they'll give you like a couple of steps just to see how you like kind of move.
Got it.
You know, I'm like the guy who like stands on the box and everyone dances around me, and I go like this. Like, I
Nikki,
raise my arms up to the side.
Can we announce you booked the pilot or no? We don't want to.
I can't. I
All right,
I
we'll
signed
take it
an
out.
NDA.
Take that part
yeah,
out. All
so
right.
well, I can't say anything
Oh,
yet.
sorry.
If you had,
I
your
fucked a
druthers
pilot.
do-
If you're listening, I booked a pilot. We'll be at the Ramada.
Yeah, but it was JetBlue.
Yeah.
It wasn't even
It wasn't
pilot.
anything ideal.
Spirit.
The pilot lighter.
Yeah.
He was missing a finger. So, if you had your druthers, film and television or the theater?
I just love live entertainment, period. That's why I love doing stand-up. I mean, there's nothing like hearing the audience's instant reaction, or even better, that little pause and then the reaction, like, you know, like
Right.
trying to get that. Like, I just love that. Even when I'm doing film and television, I'm playing for the crew. I want to hear cut, and then I want to hear everyone burst out, like
Right.
we're trying to hide it the whole time. Like, I live for those moments, so.
They're fantastic.
You know, so I mean, I really just love interacting with people and feeling the energy of an audience, feeling the energy of like anything could happen. It's live. Like, I love that. That's why I love sketch, improv, theater, and stand up probably the most. But like I said, when I'm doing something on camera, I'm still doing it there, but just like, you know, it gets captured and at least people can see it tomorrow instead of me having to do it again or hope that the play gets picked up or whatever, you know. That was one thing that frustrated me about doing theater for so long, is that I would work for months in rehearsals, you know, in college and do like these plays for 2 days, you know, or
Yeah.
like, it's just kind of like, well, then no one, that's it. Now it's dead. It's gone. It's like, and that's a beautiful thing about live theater. I love seeing live theater because you capture this moment that if you weren't there, you didn't see it.
Right.
If you didn't see that cast, if you didn't go that day, if that thing that happened, you missed it. And every once in a while, you see like this magic thing that happens. Like, so I love seeing. I see as much live performance as possible. But it's the reason that I'll probably just, you know, I'll always be working because I'll be doing that shit till I'm like dead. Like, I'll probably die on stage.
Is there a theater scene in LA?
I've seen you on stage plenty of times.
There's, you're punching down, Adam.
Fuck.
You're the host of the podcast. I'm
Damn.
just a guest.
Oh yeah. Fuck.
No.
You're successful.
And I'm fat and gay. No,
Another hate crime.
there's
Yeah.
theater here. Yeah, there's stuff that comes in and out through here. Sure. I mean, you know, Broadway people want to be pilots. The thing is, everybody wants to be a movie star.
Right.
It's like every comedian wants to be a movie star. Every athlete wants to be a movie star. It's like every, you know, as soon as they're like, oh, I want to make movies. I want to do it. And I make movies. So I'm just like, I want to keep doing that mostly. Because I feel like, you
And it
know,
pays better.
it's the top of the entertainment food. No, well, you know, they say movies make you famous, TV makes you rich, and theater makes you good.
And comedy makes you an
Amen.
alcoholic.
Amen.
The transphobic alcoholic.
Comedy leaves you in therapy.
Is it like 1,000 degrees in here?
It is
Yeah,
1,000
I'm like-
degrees in
I'm-
here.
I'm
I have underboob sweat.
We're all naked. If you're
Underneath this
listening
jacket.
to home.
Yeah. All 3 of my nipples are out right now.
So what do you got coming up?
Depression? No,
Oh.
I am gonna be on Danny's show at the Comedy Store, which I believe is Friday, May 22nd.
No, May 24th.
May 24th. I'm dyslexic. I thought it was the 42nd.
It's a big comedy weekend that weekend for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
And you're going to be doing almost all the shows.
Yeah,
all the
I'm
shows
performing at
today.
Why is it
RuPaul's
so-
Drag Race. And
Really?
I'm not in
DragCon,
drag.
yeah.
DragCon. We're on a panel about LGBT people.
I have so many jokes about them.
I,
No, I'm kidding.
Do you think I should try out some of your material?
Yeah,
Adam?
absolutely.
I'm opening for Fortune Feimster tonight.
That's great,
Which is
nice.
exciting. And
That's
Suzanne
awesome. I'd love
Westenhofer in Oregon, June 7th. And I'm headlining Caroline's, which I plug every week. October 20th. Please buy tickets. I don't want it to just be my mom. And what do you guys have going up? Adam, you're headed to New York right after this.
Yeah, I'm at the Gotham Comedy. Well, this would be played by then.
Tell
But Calgary, I'm at that Comedy Cave in Calgary,
Calgary.
June 11th to the 6th, 17th. Then I'm at the. I'm opening. I got a bunch of stuff. I'm opening for Russell Peters coming up, which is cool. We got you go, Dean. I'll come back.
You open it in Irvine?
Dean, you have a
No.
Netflix movie coming
I
up.
got a Netflix movie coming out May 23rd. It's called Slasher Solstice. It's the 3rd season of the Slasher series. Really excited about that. It's going to be awesome.
For your
Awesome.
Danny and my gay fans, will you be topless in the film? Anything we can look forward to?
No, sleeveless.
Oh, okay.
Sleeveless.
I just want to make sure I have my
And pretty-
screenshot ready
and
on
very
my
much
laptop.
rocking a daddy bear look.
And,
Oh,
and
okay.
in real life, homeless. So
I'm living out of my car right now because my kids have eaten me out of house and home. That's it, man. I'm being a dad 7 days a week, and then once in a while I'll pop into the Dime and do some stand-up with these boys.
Yes. June 11th and 16th, Comedy Cave in Calgary. June 19th to the 23rd, the Minnesota House of Comedy. Stratosphere in Vegas, July 1st to the 7th. Off the Hook Comedy Club, July 18th to the 21st in Naples. San Jose Theater with Russell Peters, July 26th. And then MGM National Harbor in Maryland with Russell Peters, August 17th.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic.
And Danny, you're on your Yass You're Amazing
Yass You're Amazing
comedy
tour.
tour. Where can we get tickets?
I will be doing the Pilgrim House at P-Town Bear Week, which is sometime this summer. You can look it up. I'll be doing I'm doing Albany Funny Bone.
Nice.
I am doing I'm around. Just look me up at What's Up Danny. You can find me at What's Up Danny on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, blackpeoplemeet.com, JDate, Farmers Only, and Venmo.
And Soul Swipe.
And Snapchat. Send me dicks. Thanks. Dicks and
Danny,
butts.
thank you so much. Very smart guy,
Thank you
very
for
funny
having me.
guy,
Thank
and
you for having me.
keep up that fight and the good work. And Hunter,
Yes.
lay off the transgenders.
You know how many accidental hookups I've had with trans? No, kidding. They weren't accidental.
Yeah, right. Just more lipstick.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for listening to Daddy Issues again. My thanks to our fantastic guest, Danny
Yeah.
Were you gonna say Franzese, like
No,
fucking chicken,
I forgot
like
it
we're at
already.
the Italian?
I forgot it all. I was gonna say Franzese again. Yeah,
Franzese.
Franzese. See,
Danny, thank you for visiting Daddy Issues.
Thank you, Danny.
thank you, Danny.
We're all-
I'm just gonna stop talking. Thank you, Danny.
We hope you had fun today, Danny.
Thanks
Thank you
for
so much for
having me.
visiting.
Thanks, daddies.
You're amazing.
Woo!